Hey there. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about the power of focus that we all have and have always had. It's literally the greatest power you hold, along with your intention. Because, like the intention lays always behind whatever you think it is that you're focusing on, and you'll know that by your creations. And you won't doubt it, at certain points. So, learning this is just life changing, I should say, remembering. It becomes life altering during certain points of our dark nights where we begin to manifest things that don't look like they could possibly match who it is or what it is we feel we are or what our intentions are. But those things have purpose and are reflective also, because we're not just this being in this beautiful meat suit, We are infinite beings within this beautiful temple that we have. I don't know if you've ever heard about how much DNA can fit into a single drop. And how much memory water holds that we are a majority of. But everything that we focus on becomes a thing. And if we're holding energies that we've either breathed in or created through a manifestation and an experience, it's always coming from some molecular point of our structure. It doesn't have to be something that we feel we've earned, and it won't be something that we've actually earned, so to speak. But it is a part of the universal I that we all are. And so that's where the power is. It's not in fully understanding that, but leaving room for that to be a potential of what's going on, so that we can begin to look around and see that when we think in certain ways, like let's say we're thinking super negatively, or we're feeling kind of dense in our energy and not really charged up, if you will, we will manifest things that will meet that like energy. And sometimes we have the deepest of fears. I mean, we've been doing these loops for thousands upon thousands of years. And so there is a lot of patterns that are going to come into play and are going to be potentials to choose from as we learn about the power of this focus. We just have to continue to pay attention. I like that statement because it explains that we're literally paying with the most valuable currency that there is on this planet. And it makes everything happen the way that it happens. And it controls the trajectory of certain timelines, whether or not there was a chosen outcome that someone came in feeling or needing to accomplish maybe, but feeling as though it's just like their end all be all. It's the thing they're most passionate about, like this. I don't do this because I think I need to help me, because I'm all there is, right? I do this because it feels good, and it's literally who I am. I'm like doing who I'm being, And I've heard it said many times over that, and without it even being my goal, is just how it's finally evolved into, that you're really getting somewhere when you can think, be, and do things that are in line with one another, It's another thing to say one thing and do another, and we're all doing that in our own ways. I'm working through some things that I've held on to that don't really serve me in the way that I would like, but they do offer gifts in their process of moving through me. So, I'm always present for that and making the highest choices that feel best to my heart in any given moment. And the best part of realizing this power of focus is that when you're in those darkest nights, and this is when you really wake up to it. I mean, I've been through a few self-created vision quests by my own choice, not like going into ceremonies or anything, but just the way my life is unfolded became its own vision quest, to where I began manifesting because of many layers of deeply embedded traumas, all of my worst fears and all of the human traumas, which is what I've dictated through all my videos. You know, each time I'd break through and realize I was working through a human trauma, not just a Vanessa trauma, and that I was playing out a pattern. And I came to realize that I was creating like the most horrific things I could think of. And literally, there it is right there, the things I could think of, you know, like, but that's something that really happens. There is things like a witch hunt trauma where you literally feel like you know too much and someone's going to take your ass out. But it, you know, it depends on what you're going to do with it, because you're the creator. You could focus on being a whistleblower and knowing deep down inside that you call yourself a whistleblower, which means you're blowing a whistle on somebody, which means that now there's a somebody that needs to be watching you, even if there wasn't. And even if there isn't, it would totally be real in your head, because you're all about the blowing of the whistles and looking for whistles and blowing them as loud as you can and being afraid but wanting at the same time people to hear your whistle blowing. You know, it's like it's a thing. And then we create things that only back up what we perceive is going on and whatever it is that we're focused on. So anybody that's focused on whistles to blow is only going to find more whistles. And guess what? It's like a never-ending world of whistles. But you're the creator, so you can live a life blowing whistles, or you can use your mouth to speak clarity and bring in love and light and just remind people of who they are. You know, like, I like to remind myself of who I am when I see myself, you know, through my reflections that show up in my life. I speak truth and clarity with love and compassion, knowing, you know, what it's like to be in those patterns. Sometimes I'm a little harsh, I have to say. I try not to be, but I'm just very direct. I'm not here to argue anybody's limitations. I mean, I won't do that with myself. And so I just can't do that with the reflections of myself either, that I have magnetized into my arena for a divine purpose and exchange for me to speak how I feel, you know, and change the point of focus if I feel as though it's going in a direction that does not feel like a positively co-creative space, you know. So, you know, when you're in the darkest of those times and you can sit back and breathe in the fact that it is being created by you, and your power of focusing on it especially will create more of it. But it just in general, that's the way the world is designed. And social media is a magnetizer and a magnifier, I think, where it makes everything bigger and faster and more up in your face. And you can really see, like, that you're in charge of the algorithm, that you can choose to close certain videos or definitely not subscribe to them or scroll past them. I like the new feature that they have where you can hear a second and you're like, yeah, nope, not vibing with that. You know, it's something that we have the power to use at all times. And we don't have to focus on the distractions, because at a certain point, it just becomes like a nuisance in the mind and a little distraction. And you can even go to the place like, oh, maybe there's something trying to stop me. Well, if all there is us, then it's just us trying to stop us, right? So then maybe we should come correct and be telling us to do the right things, you know, the things that feel good and line up with what it is that we want. You know, we're always the creator of our worlds, whether we like knowing that after the fact or not. It's just a reality, and it's time to reprogram our brains to think things in a more clear fashion and pay that ripple forward to our children. Sometimes, like me, you know, my teenager, well, she's 20 now, but she was definitely paying attention, because I've always been this. I'm never not this. On a rare occasion, she'd be like, okay, Mom, TMI. But, like, she's very aware of the power of focus, and I kind of detoured off there because I started thinking about my daughter. So I lost my train of thought, which can definitely happen when it's all flowing through so much. But we have to learn that we're creating everything, and that when we see the things that we really don't like to see, we have to understand that it's some patterns that we are thinking, feeling, or reenacting that are continuously recreating the same story. And that doesn't matter what it looks like because it's never not happening. And understanding that puts you into like this superhuman state where you can create the world that you want. And that ripples out. If you understand all that you know about the science of how the universal law works and how you get what you give, and whatever you focus on, you create more of, and how, when you make a choice for yourself, it ripples out. When you do something good for somebody else, then they do it for somebody else, they do it for somebody else. It becomes a ripple, just like the other distortions that we feel are a little off might have came to be in the same way. It's just about controlling the ripple of your energy because it's connected to everything that has ever existed or not existed, even if it was some illusory thing and we were just here to play like some video game. It's the same thing. You learn to go and focus. You find the power packs and the medicine and the flower petals for weapons, in my opinion. And you end up building for yourself a life that you want to live in. Like, you don't go into a video game trying to kill yourself. And, I know we go and try and fight those battles, but, like when you see that person, which is just your own reflection at the end of each level before you break through a glass ceiling, it's just you. And it's pivotally important that we understand that we are the one that's going to go face that imaginary boss at the end, which is just us. And so it's up to us to collect all of the wisdom that we can from all of the experiences we've had in that supposed level so that we know the right thing to tell ourselves when we're asking ourselves that at the pivotal transition points or the portals or the activation points or the full moons or the whatever season we're in. It's all about learning the power of focus and how to use it, and it's all about. And I love you guys, and I just like sharing these little tidbits because they're profound to me, and I know how this reflective world works. So if it's profound to me, it'll be profound to someone, and it really doesn't need to be because, again, there's only me, but this feels natural to me. And when some of us get our state of, quiet solitude, it's nice to feel like you're talking to somebody. And since I'm only always talking to me, I might as well just do it like this and then share it with more me's that might actually want to hear it. And if not, no big deal. I'm really just doing it to do it because it seems like fun. And it feels like the best thing to do that emulates who I am and who I want to be and who I love to be and who I'm always naturally just being. So there's all that. I hope you followed that stream, and I love you guys. Talk to you soon.